You guys, Superman is bisexual. Okay, alright, so maybe not the Superman, you know, the one that was introduced in the 30s and in the 40s and all that kind of stuff, seen as like the true American hero, at least when it comes to DC heroes, because Captain America would be the true American hero, I guess. America's in his name. But actually, it's not the Superman you're thinking of, as like with Batman, he ended up having a son named Damian and he took over the reins of Batman eventually. Well, this Superman, this Clark Kent, had a son named Jonathan Kent, and it's Jonathan who is the one who has come out as bisexual in the comic books. And what really bugs me more is that people are so up in arms about this. Like, even if it was them kind of, you know, changing the character or making this version of the older character that was bisexual, it's like, you know, I always find when they do that type of thing, when they take like a character who's like highly established for years and has this backstory and this is what he's been or what they've been, and they kind of, you know, make them bisexual or gay just for, I don't know, the clout or to be woke in some sort of way, that really bothers me. But with this being a new character, this character was introduced in July. I haven't really read any of the comics with him in them, if there are any, but I mean, to me, what I look for in a comic is the story. If the story's good, then I don't really care about anything else. I just want to read a good comic book and be entertained when it's all said and done. And when I say I don't care about his sexuality, it's just more me saying that's not my main focus. Like, me knowing he's bisexual isn't going to take my interest away from the comic book at hand. That's just not, like, reading any book or whatever, going into anything, that should never be, like, your first, like, oh, this person's gay or bisexual, or they made this character gay and bisexual. Now I don't want to read it. Like, that's just the wrong way to go about doing things. And I saw this post, too. It was like, now that Superman is bisexual, will you let your kids read the comics? And there are going to be people that won't. And you know what, that's fine. We're all brought up in different ways, and we were taught in different ways, you know, what to believe and stuff like that. I get it, but I think this could be a real teaching moment, stories like these. Because, yeah, it's fictional characters, but you gotta understand, it's very hard to explain to children about the LGBT community, mainly because, you know, they're young and you don't necessarily know how they're going to, you know, see it as and whatever. And like I said, some parents just believe in different things, so they may tell their kid one thing and another parent may tell their kid the other, and there's just a bunch of, like, you know, divide with how people see things in this case. But I really think it can make kids more confident into just being okay with who they are. I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, oh, this will make kids come out as gay, bisexual, whatever, but it'll show kids that, you know, whether you are gay, straight, bisexual, transgender, black, whatever your sexual orientation or your race, that, you know, you can be you, and that's fine, and as long as you treat others with respect, then that's all that really matters here. Like, I feel like it could be a good learning moment in this case. But again, there's going to be people that won't buy the comics for their children, and that's okay too, because not all comics are made for children. I sure as hell wouldn't let my little kid read The Death in the Family, or really any of the Harley Quinn shit nowadays. That's, you know, they make that more adult-driven too. And plus, I wouldn't also even let them read The Killing Joke or the New 52 version of The Death in the Family, where the Joker literally cuts his fucking face off. Like, that's not geared towards children, that's geared more toward an adult audience. So comics just aren't necessarily always going to be kid-friendly anyway. Not to say that this Superman being bisexual isn't kid-friendly, but I don't think people realize that just because it's a comic book and it's made for entertainment, and there are a lot of kid-friendly comic books out there and comic book characters, that doesn't necessarily mean everything written about that character or all the other characters in the comic book universe are, you know, any more kid-friendly. They are like Deadpool, and Batman's one of the more darker comic book characters, I would say, as well. He's had some of the darker stories that are there. What really confuses me about this situation, though, is people are up in arms about this, but when DC literally made the switch of Harley Quinn's broken up with the Joker, so let's just make her bisexual now. People seem to be more accepting of that, to the point where there's now a fucking cartoon show about how that relationship basically started and got off the ground, and it's about to hit season 3, so she gets her own show, and heck, she even gets technically her own standalone movie, but this is where we draw the line. A guy likes guys and girls? Like, this is a little much to teach our children. It just, I don't know, maybe it's because, again, Harley Quinn is more of an adult character, like more for the grown-ups in this case, whereas Superman has always been like a kid-friendly figure, but this is the new generation Superman. This isn't Clark Kent. At this point, I think they said something about, like, his son is taking over as the realm of Superman, because now Superman is starting to show his age. He's starting to age rapidly and, you know, can't really do things he used to do, so his son is now going to be Superman, and I just feel like, you know, it's cool that they added it to the story with a new character and not a well-established character. Like, it shows that, you know, these people are still human, although I guess this kid's technically half alien because Superman's technically an alien, but you get what I mean. You know, it shows that these characters are human and that, you know, they're not always going to be just these straight superheroes. Plus, you know, you got to think too, a lot of people in the LGBT community aren't really represented that well when it comes to, you know, other things here. Now, I know comic books, they have been, you know, more recently than that. I know Renee Montoya, her character, and, you know, just a bunch of other characters all around have been, you know, lesbian or gay. They've put that out there, but, you know, whereas people may look up to Superman and Batman and all this kind of stuff and Wonder Woman, these LGBT people don't have these characters that they can relate to as much, and sometimes it's just better to add that information, like, oh yeah, by the way, this character is bisexual. Just, you know, just throwing that in there. It's not to do any harm to anybody. It's not to just be woke or whatever. Like I said, sometimes it is, and that's more often when they add that portion, I guess you can say, to the older characters that we've already grown to know. That's when it gets a little bit preachy to me. But with a new character like this, one that you can, you know, still figure out how to establish, that doesn't bother me that much. It's like, okay, cool, you know, but the character being bisexual isn't going to ruin it for me so long as I enjoy the story at hand. If I read one of the comics and the story really intrigues me, I'm going to continue reading it. If it doesn't intrigue me, then oh well, it was just not good enough of a story for me to really give a shit about. But other than that, I think people are just overreacting to this way too much and just need to calm down and look at the different sides of things. People need to learn better why this happens and why they're putting this in the comics. You know, I mean, granted, again, I don't want to say that it's like music. You know, musicians aren't here to baby your children. They're not here to coddle them. So if you know a band or an artist has definitely, you know, bad vulgar language or whatever in their music, then if you don't want your kids listening to them, then tell them not to listen to them instead of putting a stupid parental advisory sticker on there when we already know what that band or artist is capable of. If you truly see a comic book, because you can skim through the comic book, and if you see some things on the pages that you're not liking, that you don't think is appropriate for children, then don't let your kid get the comic. There are plenty of other comics out there that you can have your kid read that are more kid-friendly, leaning toward that demographic and whatnot. But also, too, again, if your main complaint is just, oh, this character is bisexual, this character shared a short kiss with someone of the same sex, then maybe you're more of the problem in this case, and I hate to be that guy, but that's just like, you know, it's a thing called being in love, and as long as someone's happy being in love with who they are, who cares, right? Am I right, or am I right? So, yeah, that's my thoughts on this. You can tell me in the comments below what did you think, and until then, stay safe out there, wear your mask, get vaccinated, and I will catch you all in the next one.